welcome to Lined Musings. I am going to take you through my fountain pen collection today. I recently just attended the Pelikan Hub for the first time, and it's inspired me to now pull out all my pens and talk about them. I think I've got about 3 pen cases to go through, so this is the first one here, and it is the Galen Leather Zippered 10-slot pen case, and I have this in Crazy Horse Brown. And in this case, I have a bunch of steel nib pens. Most of them live in this case. And this one here is my TWSBI Diamond 580 fountain pen in Smoke Rose Gold, and I have this in the extra fine nib. And I have this one always inked up with the Atramentus Black Archive ink. And so I use this for sketching or for any writing that I know I really want to preserve. This one usually lives in my pen case with my watercolor set because that's what I would generally use it for. What I'm thinking I might do as an extra thing for this video is a currently inked log. So I'm just going to grab my Hobonichi supplement, which has my logs of my currently inked pens. To be honest, I have not really been updating this because I generally have the same inks inked up in my pens at any one time, and I generally only have a handful of pens inked as well. Let me just write this one down. So this one is the TWSBI Diamond 580. And this is in the extra fine nib. And I believe it is rose gold plated along with all the other rose gold bits on this pen. And I have this inked up with the Atramentus Archive Black ink. Not one of the most exciting inks, but it always comes in handy. So that's one of my TWSBIs. It's my second TWSBI, and I absolutely love it. I love the weight of it. I love the thickness of it, and it feels like a really good high quality pen for a steel nib pen. So I'll just pop him back in the case and we'll move on to my other TWSBI pen. This one is actually my first TWSBI pen and the second fountain pen I ever added to my collection. And at the time of purchasing it, I thought, this is it. This will be the most expensive pen I'll ever buy, and I'll only have 2 pens in my collection. That is clearly not the case. Let's have a look at the nib here. And she is a smaller nib than my TWSBI Diamond 580, and I actually prefer this one. And this one is in a fine nib. And the 2 TWSBIs that I have both have the piston filling mechanism. And I find with this, it's great if you have an ink you're really fond of or you write a lot, but it does take quite some time to finish up the ink in the pen. And on the tip here we have the TWSBI red logo. Not the biggest fan of that, but it is a very lovely pen and it writes very well. The next 2 pens I have here are Jinhao 82 fountain pens. You can find these on AliExpress and they are really handy for shimmer inks. So what I've done is bought some medium nibs, and there's the 2-tone color there, which is really pretty. My friend actually gifted me a couple of these and I have another 2, so with that combination I have made a coffee pen and a matcha pen. I'll just show you the nib again because it is really quite pretty with the 2 tones, and it is a steel nib. And really quite affordable. So if you want to experiment with shimmer inks, these are really good for that because you don't have to be too precious about them. And another pen that I use for shimmer inks is this Kakuno pen by Pilot, And I bought this when I had first started experimenting with shimmer inks. And I feel like the little face on this fountain pen is just the cutest thing. And I think I read somewhere that this is actually a pen for kids in Japan, and that's why it's got the cute little face on the nib. And I've just got a standard Pilot cartridge in there. I'm pretty sure you can buy a specific cartridge for this pen, but this works just fine, and I usually will use my Jinhao pens anyway, so this one's here for when I want to use it, but I don't use it too often. And on the other side of this Galen leather case, I have my 5 Kaweco pens. I used to have a couple more, but I have since culled them. This one here is my Kaweco student pen in the brown colour, and it has a medium nib. I also have the fine nib for this, so I change them out if I want to use different size nibs. I love the gold nib section here, makes it look super luxe, and this cream colour is perfection. This is probably my favourite coffee pen that's out there at the moment. So next to the Jinhao pen, it makes the Jinhao one look a little bit more like a caramel latte, or maybe a pumpkin spice latte. And the next Kaweco pen is my Kaweco Art Sport pen in the Hickory brown colorway. And I did love this pen when it came out, but I didn't purchase it straight away. I sat on it for a while and I decided I didn't need it. But then I went to Germany and I thought, you know what? I need a souvenir. And the Pelikans in Germany were too expensive. So I purchased this Art Sport Hickory pen, and I have no regrets. And I have this one in a fine nib. And the next 3 pens here are all very similar. This one is in the colour olive, and I have the nostalgic design clip on this one. I have it on both of my collection pens. And yeah, I think this one is also a fine nib. Actually, no, it is an extra fine. I guess while we're here, I may as well just show you the difference between the All Sport and the Kaweco collection / classic size. You'll see it's about a centimetre, almost 2, taller. And that was unexpected for me. I honestly thought that when capping the All Sport, it would be taller or the same size. But yeah, in any case, they're both very easy to hold. I have small hands, so the Kaweco Sports and these type of pens, I don't have any issues with them. But I can see how people with larger hands will struggle. Okay, this one here is actually my first fountain pen that I ever purchased. You can see that there's already some wear on that clip there, and just the pen in general. But yeah, the story behind this one is I walked into Milligram thinking I am going to buy myself a Lamy rollerball pen. But then I looked to the side and I saw these cute little pens, and I walked out with this Kaweco fountain pen. I didn't do any research. I didn't even know what nib I had picked out. Luckily, it wasn't abroad and it was a fine nib. Long story short, that was the pen that started this collection, really. And this one here is an odd one. As you can see, it is one of the more colourful pens, or at least not a neutral pen in my collection. But I am really fond of this colour, and this purple and the green pen I just showed you before, that is my favourite colour combo, purple and green. This one currently has a dried up summer purple Kaweco ink cartridge in it. I've just been too lazy to clean it out. I won't swatch that one because it is dried up. I might just rearrange this and pop the collection pens next to each other, just so we have the Art Deco type design all consistent there. Anyway, this is my steel nib collection of fountain pens, and some of which are gold plated. While we're in the category of steel nibs and also smaller pocket pens, I also have these two. This is my Traveller's Company brass pen. You can see it's already starting to patina / maybe tarnish a little, but I think that is the aesthetic that they are going for. I have this in a fine nib, and I believe that is the only size they come in, but don't quote me on that. I'm just going to try and see if this is inked. It is not, but I would usually have this one inked with a black ink, the Pilot Black, just your stock standard. I'm really torn with this pen. I like it a lot, but I never quite know when to use it. I am thinking I potentially might use this one for work because it's not the most expensive pen, and I wouldn't mind it getting battered up. Like, it would suit the aesthetic of this pen. I actually used to just have it sitting with this Traveller's Train notebook, which has all my Traveller's Company bits and pieces, but I then never used it, so gotta rethink that one. This one here is my Conklin Minigraph pen. I saw someone have this one with their little traveler's notebook on Instagram, and I found it on Amazon, purchased it in an extra fine. It's not the greatest pen, and I say that because the ink dries up really quickly, and even just the quality of this plastic or this resin or whatever it is, it's just not great. I'm pretty sure the reason why this pen dries up so quickly is because there's this little gap in the pen clip here, and that just allows air to come through and then just dries up the pen. So it's very, very cute, but I would say overall a disappointing purchase. I'm just finding it hard to let go of because it is very cute. Okay, moving on to my gold nib pens. Just grabbing my pen case for my platinum pens. This is another souvenir from my recent trip to Europe back in April. This is by Manufactus. It is a leather pen roll from Italy. And here I've just got 3 of my platinum pens. This one here is the Ishigaki, also known as the Calico Platinum Century 3776 pen in the celluloid material. And this one is in the 14 karat gold fine nib, and apparently you can get these in 18 karat in the older design, and Journal with Jazz says that it is a superior writing experience. So I hope one day I'm lucky enough to get my hands on one of those. I will just show you at the end here. My pen has a lot of black space here, but it's not always visible. It is a disappointing thing, but I guess that's one of the things about purchasing pens online. You can't really choose the exact pen that you end up buying. Anyway, this was the first platinum pen that I purchased, and I clearly loved it very much that I had to buy 2 more. This is the other celluloid pen that I have. It is in the koi design, aptly named because it looks like a koi fish. And I got this one also in a fine nib. I'm always playing it safe with the sizes. I think there is some ink left. Okay, all good. Yes, so it's in a fine nib. I am always playing it safe when I buy a more expensive pen, and I generally lean towards buying a fine pen. What's interesting about these celluloid pens is you can see the start and end of the loop in how they made the pen. I don't know if you could see it there, but just something to look out for. It's an interesting thing, I guess. And my third Platinum 3776 Century pen is this laurel green one here. And I got this one purely because I really like this shade of green. I would say this is probably my favorite color. It's green, but it has the tiniest hint of blue in there. And this one is in a medium nib. I was game to buy a different nib here because it wasn't one of the celluloid ones. This one is much more affordable. I'm actually seeing a lot of scratches on this pen, and I'm not quite sure why. Yeah, I really baby my pens, so I'm not sure how that one has gotten so scratched up, but that's okay. I'll just put this one away now and we can go through my other gold nib pens, which live in another Galen leather pen case. This one has the 5 slots, so I'll just open this one up and you can see my gold nib babies. These ones are my favorites and I use them the most out of all of my fountain pens. The first one here is the Pilot Custom 823 and it is a vacuum filling mechanism fountain pen. I usually have this one inked up with a brown ink, and that ink is usually Van Diemen's Leatherwood Honey. Let's have a close look at the nib. Quite a large one. I think it is the largest nib in my collection, and it holds the ink really well and it doesn't dry up, and that's all because of this twisty end bit here. That is totally the technical term for this. But essentially loosening it will let the ink flow through the nib, and tightening it will stop that from happening. And I wish someone was here to tell me all about this mechanism when I first started using this pen, because I thought I bought a dud. So this one here I mentioned is the Pilot Custom 823 pen, and I have this in the fine nib. I did forget to mention this one is a 14 karat nib as well. And similar to the TWSBI, this one holds a lot of ink, so it does take quite some time to get through it. I think I've had this ink in here for many months now, and she's still going strong. So if that's what you're looking for in a pen, this is your girl. I just really love the cigar shape of this pen, the color, the little pen clip. It's just a beautiful pen through and through. So I'm just popping that one back in, and now we'll move on to some of my sailors. And if you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll know that sailors are my preferred and favorite pen. This one here is my Sailor 1911S. The S stands for standard, and I just wanted a demonstrator pen in my collection because I generally like to match the ink with the pen color, and the demonstrator pen gives me a little bit more freedom. I have this one in the medium fine nib, and it is also another 14 karat nib. And this one is also a cigar shaped pen, albeit it is on the smaller side. And I really love the medium fine nib and also the look of this pen. I think this one will be in my collection forever. And next up we have the ever so popular Sailor Pro Gear Slim in the Mango Nuts colorway. And I bought this one after seeing it in Abby C's collection. I just thought it was so gorgeous. And I absolutely love the little acorn that is on the finial here. It is just the sweetest little thing. And I got this in the medium nib because that was the last one in stock. And I have absolutely no regrets. Love the medium nib. I think I'm a convert. I usually prefer a medium fine for the sailors, but this one is the perfect size in that it is fine, but also still shows the color of the ink and a little bit of the shading and sheening as well. And I feel like with this pen, I can ink it up with either a sagey color or a green or an orangey color. It is currently inked with Autumn Oak by Diamine, which is one of my favorite inks, and I am still getting through that big bottle that I bought. Okay, so that is my Sailor Pro Gear Slim in the Manu Nuts, and it is one of my top favorite pens in my collection. And speaking of favorites, next up is my Grail pen, and this one stopped me from purchasing any other pens for quite some time. It is the Nagasawa Hamori Pen, and it has the cutest little ink bottle on the finial. I think this is a common thing for Nagasawa pens, as is this little rooster design on the nib. I think it's actually a weather vane. I just love how detailed it is on the nib there. And in the nib section, we've got the glitter, and that's to resemble the reflections in the light and the droplets in the trees, which reflects the Japanese term Hamori Pen. Another thing I really like about this pen is this thick gold bit here. It's similar to the 1911S. Kind of makes it like a combo of the Sailor Pro Gear Slim and 1911. And this one I got in a fine nib, and that is because it was the only nib that was available. I actually had to send the fountain pen back to Nagasawa because it wasn't writing as nice as it should, and it has come back and is writing so beautifully. And we've also got the lovely Sailor feedback, which just makes writing feel like you're writing with a grey lid. It is currently inked with Robert Oster Melbourne Tram Green. I also like to ink this one up with Ferrisville Press Peter Moss Green. So that one there is my favourite pen of all time, my holy grail. Love this one. I will pop the unboxing video here for you if you'd like to hear more about it. So that's that one. Next up is my most recently purchased pen, and I only got this one because I was in Berlin and I thought, well, while in Berlin I should get myself a German pen, and why not a Pelikan? And then I realized that it is more expensive to buy in Berlin than it is back home here in Australia. So I decided to get the Kaweco that I showed you earlier, and when I got home I felt a little sad about not being able to get the Pelikan, so I ended up getting it. I'll just show you here the size comparison because this is an M400 pen, which people tend to feel like is too small. I feel like if anything it is about the size of a Pro Gear Slim. I will say that the nib section is a little uncomfortable. It protrudes out a little more than the Pro Gear Slim. So that's something to consider. So this one is the Pelikan M400 White Tortoise pen, and I got this in the fine nib. If you haven't written with a Pelikan pen before, it is a completely different experience to the other pens. The ink, it just flows really nicely. And of course, it decides to run out of ink. Let me just grab my ink bottle so I can finish off this little pen test. So the ink I've got here is the Sailor Ink Studio 970. I got this just because it really does match this pen. Originally I wanted to get Ferrisville Press Goose Poupon, but I found this one and it was a lot cheaper. Another ink that goes really well with this pen is Pilot Iroshizuku Inoho. Unfortunately that one is discontinued and I haven't been able to get my hands on it, but hopefully one day. In the meantime, Goose Poupon seems to be a really good match. This pen test isn't the best because I am dipping my pen in, but hopefully you can get a feel for what I meant by the ink flow and the writing experience being a little different with the Pelikan pen. And that is all of my pens, I'm pretty sure, at least the ones in these cases. As you can see, the inks that I use tend to be the same ones, even though I've got a massive collection. I am just a creature of habit. I had a pen test for my Meigetsu in June. Where is it? Oh, of course. I keep it with my Hobonichi wicks in my Pelikan cover, but I don't always use it. It just sits there for when I want to use it. This one I got because it's a little bit more understated and I could bring this to work or on the go, and it was also affordable for a Prokia Slim. So if I do have it on the go, I wouldn't be too sad if something had gone wrong with it, i.e. I lost it or broke it. I have this one in an extra fine because that works perfectly in my Hobonichi weeks, and it is about the same size as a gel pen in 0.38. That way there's a bit of consistency with the writing in my planner. This one is inked with just a standard Pilot Black. I did describe this one as understated before, but it is a gorgeous pen and I love the ivory colour. Okay, I'm so glad I didn't forget about that one in this updated fountain pen collection video. And while we're here, I figure we can also have a look at my other dip pens. I've just got them sitting in this little pencil case, so let me just pull these out. It's just these two glass pens and my Kakimori dip pen. So these glass dip pens I just got off eBay. They're really cheap and I would only buy cheap ones because they break really easily. This one is broken, but I like to use the end of it because it is a really good size for swatches. This is my current glass dip pen that is not broken, so I use the tip of this, and I also use the end of this one, though it is a little bit thicker than the one I showed you before, so the ink swatches are thicker lines. I'm just attaching the nib to my Kakimori. So I have the Sakura handle with the brass Kakimori nib. And I haven't really used this one recently, but it is super fun to play with for ink swatches or just some really rough sketches and doodling, which I don't do often enough, but I really should get back into the swing of it. And that brings us to the end of this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give my video a thumbs up. It really helps out my channel and helps the algorithm bring more people like us to my channel and helps build this community. If you'd also like to see more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button. I generally upload videos once every 2 weeks or so. I hope you enjoyed watching me go through all of my fountain pens, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!